Morning.
Hi.
Beautiful morning. Hate to rub it in, but we've had a ton more rain.
Shh.
I know. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to get this arbor planted. So it's a mix of apples, plums, and one lone pear. So Julie's going to make a playlist of everything for the new garden. So this is going to be part 3, I think, of the garden. It'll be part 2 of the arbor. It'll make it easier for everybody to track what we're doing, keep an eye on what we're up to. The wires, you've all seen the arbor going. The wires, it's a straining wire. It's a fence straining wire. I can't strain these very, very tight because obviously I'm going to bend all the metal work. So they were pulled as tight as I could do them. So we did have a few issues keeping the wire from sliding down, even with these, and we've actually upgraded now to stainless steel wire ties. If Julie comes up a little bit, you can see this is the old ties we had. They were quite thin, and they've gone rusty already, but they're not gripping very well. So what I figured out in the end was if I put a cable tie first, and then I put the tensioner over the tie over the top, it really did grab it tight and it's stopping these sliding up and down. So the bottom wire on the end is set at about 14 and a half inches. It does vary a little bit depending on the ground all the way across. So the first one's at 14, and then we have 18 inches to the second wire, and then we have another 18 inches to the bar. And then the bar was put in specifically at that height for that reason, so that we could space these out. Now everything we put on here, the apples, the pear and the plums, are all going to be espaliers. So that's the reason for the spacing. And then where everyone is going to be planted, we have a central bamboo. And then we have 2 bamboos set at 45 degrees. And I just use the old set square. 45 degrees, that's what we're looking for to start with for training. And then these are spaced out at, just going to check my measurement here, should be 12 feet apart. So it's every other upright we're putting a fruit tree onto. It's very stony. These first two are quite stony, but once you get through the stone, the soil actually is not that bad. I'm going to put a little bit of cow manure in, and then once I planted, I'm going to actually just put a top dressing of manure on the top. I'm not going to use mulch. I'm going to use a little bit of manure. There is no fertilizer going in these things. I do not want a whole bunch of top growth. Now at this time of year, I want them to get down some really nice roots. A bit of manure in the bottom, work it in. I'm down a fork depth below the hole that I've dug now. Pull a little bit of that out. If you saw, these were potted up, bare root. Oh, way back.
I'll find
Julie will find the episode. So I've not knocked these out. I'm going to take that cane out. It was just getting a bit wobbly in the pot, so that's why I put the cane in. I'll lift the label. The other thing, we are going to do some decent labels for these at some point. This one is, this is Blenheim Orange. Good old English variety. Right, we'll see what the roots are like. That's a nice root system. A really nice root system. So I'm just going to be careful because I don't want to try and disturb it any more than I have to. So we're going to tip this guy over and we're going to pop him in and see where we are. That's a little deep at the moment. So what I'm going to do is just pull a little bit of this manured that I took out and just lift it up a little, and then I've got to get it around so that my two branches are going to be flat back against the bamboo cane. So I've got the height about right now. I'm roughly 6 inches away from the bamboo cane. Doesn't have to go any closer than that, and you can see these nice new white roots.
So these roots, even though it wasn't a lot of roots, you're saying for bare root, the time they've been in the pot, that was a really...
Yeah, that's a nice little root system. I don't want them root bound. I don't want them pot bound. These will now move out really, really quickly into the surrounding soil and get going. And it's a root system is what we're trying to establish at this time of year. We're not really worried. We have all the top growth that we need. I don't need any more than this up here to do what I want. So I have everything I need. So I'm going to get this backfilled. We'll give it a soak and then we'll tie in. We'll show you how we tie the top in. Just to make watering a little easier. So we'll get that, like I said, I'm going to give that a really good soak now. And you can see the benefit of having the well. Holds the water in place, gives it a chance to soak in. These were really wet in the pot before they were planted anyway. So we'll give that a little while to settle in, soak down. And I say I'm going to cover this with a layer of manure. Keep finding it. So we're going to tie this in now. So the center, obviously, goes up the center cane. Now I'm not pulling any of this in very tight. Just want it growing upwards, very loosely, just to hold it in place. So these two side branches, eventually they'll be pulled down flat along the bottom wire. But at the moment, they're just a little too stiff. So what we do is we tie them in at the 45 degrees just for now. And then in the spring, we'll lower these down into place and do any pruning that we need to do. And also while they're growing at the 45, they'll actually put more growth on at this angle than if you try and pull them down flat. It's too much. Also, it's too much of a shock to the plant. So that's one. And that's pretty well it. A couple other things. Another reason for setting this back a good 5 or 6 inches from this bar is eventually this will have quite the girth on it, and I don't want it growing into the bar. And secondly is don't be tying your fruit into metalwork like this. It's okay at this time of year, but in the winter it's too damn cold. It transfers too much cold to the plant. Wire's not so bad, but wrought iron stuff like this, put a bamboo cane in there. That one's going to bug me. That one needs to come over a bit further, so I'll put another little tie on that. I like to have things upright. I'll pull him over. And that's it. That's the first stage of training an Espalier apple. So the two plums have put on exceptional growth. They really have. So because they put so much growth on, I'm going to cut them back. I'm just going to leave them for a few days just to settle in first, get the leaves to turn and everything the right way. This one here actually has to be cut back all the way to the second wire, just below the second wire, so that I can get 2 more shoots. And I have 2 here already that are forming, and then both of these 2 eventually next year will be will be trained onto the second wire. Something that everybody should bear in mind: you should never, ever, ever do any pruning of any of the prunus varieties, so cherries, plums, in the spring. I see so many people think that they can group their prunus and their cherries and their plums with apples for pruning. No. If you prune in the spring, these guys, you're just asking for trouble. Silver leaf is one of the biggest diseases that the prunus family can pick up. And typically they're going to pick that up in the spring. So any pruning that you do on the prunus family, again, I'm going to say cherries and plums, you do midsummer. I'm a little bit later because obviously these guys, I wanted to get them planted out. It doesn't matter. I'm going to give them a few days to settle down. I'm going to cut it and this one, I'm going to cut it just below the wire and start training in these 2 new shoots.
And then so what about the apples that have gone past?
The apples I'm going to leave. The apples that have gone past haven't gone past by too far. So we have an apple here that's gone past. But what you have to bear in mind, when you prune in the spring, you're pruning for growth. When you prune apples in the summer, it's to encourage short spurs for fruit for next year. I don't want fruit at this stage. I want growth. I want these apples, these espaliers, to come across these wires, and this one has to come all the way to the next post. Once it hits this post, then I will start pruning it for fruit. But at the stage we're at now, it's just training it for growth to fill in this whole structure. So what you have to bear in mind, we have 1, 2, 3 tiers here. We're going to have another 3 tiers to the top. So we're going to have 6 tiers of branches going out. So it's all, at this stage, it's all about pruning in the spring to encourage growth. Cherries and plums are a little different. You have to prune those midsummer, but we're still pruning for growth. We're not after any fruit at this stage. So this is a game of patience. So that's it. All planted. I'm hoping, I don't think they're going to stress out too much. I mean, the soil is really wet. They've had a really good soak. We've got another warm day today, and then I think it cools off. We've got a couple of cloudy days, so they should settle in quite nicely. They're all looking pretty good. The leaves aren't necessarily all facing in the right direction. They will turn over the next few days. This is a good example of one here. It's got nice growth, been able to tie it in nicely. But the next one, if we look at the next one, this one doesn't have the growth on that the previous one. You can see these growths are very short. I've tied them in roughly. They may put a little bit more on this year. I'll better get them up the cane. But again, the leaves will turn. They'll face up eventually. So apple. We have a plum, Stanley, and then opposite we have another plum. And then we move on down. Apple. Opposite the apple we have a pear. I'm going to try 1 pear on here and see how it does. And also because I was short of 1 apple. One of the apples didn't make enough growth, so I thought I will throw a pear in instead. And then we finish off with 2 apples. And as I said, everything's been mulched, and we've mulched with some manure. There's nothing else now to go in here at this stage. We are going to put a clematis on each end post, but they're not quite ready yet. And then eventually everything is going to be underplanted. We're thinking 2 rows of hostas, and then we're going to also plant some primulas. But that won't be for, well, I don't think we'll be doing that this year, maybe not even next year. We'll see how things grow. But yeah, I think I'm really pleased with it. I think it changes the whole look of the whole garden. The vegetable patch looked a little disconnected from the house, from the whole garden. But as soon as this went in, as soon as this central feature went in, it ties everything together really nicely. So if you follow me up through, you'll see what I mean. So now every time Julie wants to come out to the garden to pick vegetables, she's going to walk up through here, because everything else is going to be enclosed with a hedge. So yeah, then you come to the end of the arbor, and then obviously we're straight into what is the vegetable garden. The fountain at the end. We're actually going to be starting that for next week's video. So that'll be end of next week's video. We're going to be featuring the start of that. And then obviously we have the perennial beds. But everything is now tied together much nicer. It just doesn't look like the vegetable patch is floating around in nowhere as such. It's starting to look like a real garden. So thank you for watching, and we will see you next week. So until then, bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.